I love that music. Hi, everybody. My name is Barbara J. Beckley, and if you are in the right place, let's talk fabulous. We have topics every Sunday, positive to just move the needle in your life, give you energy, just make you feel good. And I love today's topic because it's on something that we all need. And I even wrote it down to make sure I say it right. Self care and self love is essential for maintaining physical, mental, emotional well being in your life and spiritual. Okay. So we have to, as self love, we have to believe in ourselves. We have to trust in ourselves. We have to understand that we are good enough. Right. And we're going to talk about that when it comes to self love. And then we're getting to self care. So it's going to be kind of fun because self care and self love can kind of combine in each other. But I'm going to really work hard as a facilitator to kind of keep us on one and then the next, because I want you all to get a love on both sides of self care and self love. So we're going to take it one step at a time. So at that time, let's talk. Yes. I can't do it by myself. I have to do it with some wonderful panelists. So first, I want to say thank you, queens. I got all ladies here, so I can say the queens. Yes. And with that said, I'm going to let them introduce their wonderful selves. Before that, I have to bring on my sidekick. You know, every week we have Renee come on, and she gives us just a little special, I always call it a special spice to the show before we start. She's my little sidekick, so we'll bring her on, and we'll be right back to meet these wonderful ladies that is on the panel today.
Hello, everyone. My name is Renee Reich. I am a women's life and leadership coach, best-selling author for Finding Your Voice, Unlock Your Teens, Unleash Your Greatness, and founder of Finding Your Voice Network and Magazine. I am so grateful for this show because it's all about self-love and self-care. We will be joined by the fabulous Barbara J. Beckley, who will be joined by expert panelists speaking about this important topic, because I believe we can all do just a little bit better at it. So grab those pens and papers, take copious notes, and I'm sending you off with so much love for a fabulous show.
Okay. Did you hear her? She said grab those pens and paper? Paper. Yeah, there you go. Okay. I always got to remind people. Yes. Okay, because I always say no. It's kind of rough for me because I facilitate and then I want to hear all the good stuff from the wonderful panelists. And I'm like, dang, and I get all into it. I'm like, oops, I'm supposed to be facilitating. So with that said, I'll make sure I can do dual jobs today. So before we even start, I want to get into us meeting these wonderful. You're looking at, they're so beautiful, their faces and stuff, and they're glowing. But you're like, okay, who are they, Barbara? So we're going to start. I want to first, let me just go around the room. In fact, I'll just let the first person, let's just pick. Who wants to go first? Usually I pick, but I'll let you pick this time. Okay. Elena?
Elena. Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm Elena Rodriguez. I am joining you from Fort Wayne, Indiana, and it's an honor to be here. I am a CEO and founder of Besitos Beauty, and we talk self-love, self-care. I'm all about it. Thank you for having me, Barbara.
Yes, lady. So glad you're here. I'll go to Barbara, the other Barbara. We have two Barbaras today. So we'll go with the first Barbara.
There we go. I'm unmuted. Am I muted? Can you hear me?
We can hear you.
Okay, perfect. Hi, I'm Barbara. Yeah, we've been, we love technology. So, my name is Barbara Ellison. I'm founder of Wellness Playroom for the best version of you. I live in the Chicagoland area, so not too far from Fort Wayne. Anyways, self-love. It is so important to be the best version of you. And we talk about it all the time, and it is such a timely subject right now. So yeah, I thank you for having me. This is going to be a great show.
I got myself on mute. This is a timely show to talk about self-love and self-care. So we're going to go to our next wonderful queen. Let me bring in There she goes.
Hello, everyone. I'm Shilpa Lewis from sunny San Diego. I'm so honored to be invited in this panel. Queen Barbara, thank you so much. And yes, self-care and self-love is so important. I practice it. I believe that you set your intention as energetic beings, and starting your day with love and self-love is critical from the inside out. And I'm excited to be here. Thank you.
Wonderful, wonderful. And our next queen to come in here. There she goes. Can she hear me, Shonda? Uh-oh. There we go.
Okay, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
There, you can hear me now?
Uh-oh. Yes.
Okay, wonderful. I am Shataun Rogers. I'm a relationship and transformational life coach. Okay, I'm delayed.
Keep going.
I am a relationship and transformational life coach, and I am excited to be here today. So, looking forward to sharing some tidbits on self-love and self-care.
Wonderful, wonderful. And our other queen here.
Well, let me unmute myself. Hi, my name is Kristina Shauntee. I am thrilled to be on the show with this topic of self-care, self-love. I am a wife, I am a mother, I'm a writer, I'm a pastor, I'm a show host of Harvest and Beyond, where I'm helping you to plant the seeds, harvest them, and grow beyond them. This topic of self-care is dear to me because it makes me think of how we are harvested to love beyond. So let's talk about self-care, ladies.
Woo, woo. Yes, I love it. Love it. Thank you, Queen Kristina. So we're already, because you're already kind of getting into the topic while you're introducing yourselves. And I love it. So I know you're just like fresh to say, come on, let's do this, Barbara. But let's hold on for 1 second, because I know we got a lot to say. We want to give some love to some things that are happening, some special things that are happening this month. So first, guess what? We just started, 2 or 3 days ago? Anybody can guess? It has to do with seasons. That's easy. I just threw it out there, really. Right? So we're thank you, Kristina. Fall, right? Autumn is here. So let's give a little love to the season. We'll be right back. Yes, and what just like the video said at the end, lifelong memories in any season, right? I love the ending of the children. I don't know, that just gets me. They're just running and playing and just look free. So with that said, and that goes, if you notice there was some tips in there. Yes, I maneuvered some tips having to do, quote unquote, self-care, having fun. Okay, I think people get it. So through all out the videos, you'll be seeing that. So we want to first go right into self-love. Okay, so panel, queens, I want you all just to have your brains tacked into the self-love right now, because I know it's going to be so easy to go to self-care. But believe me, we're going to talk about that in the second half of the show. So I want you all to put your self-love bugs on, and I want to show something because I want to get right into this once I show this video. Because a lot of times people, I know myself included sometimes we feel like we have to do things for everybody else, and we come first. It's okay to be selfish, right? It's okay. So this particular video is just going to give you a little tad about how it should be okay for you. And then we're going to go with the panel and talk about about defining self-love and how it is okay to be selfish for yourself. So just by being you is love of itself. So I am going to just start and ask the ladies, how do you define self-love and how has your perspective on it changed over time? So I want to start with that. So whoever wants to start first, let's just dab into it. Who wants? Okay, I'll put you in the middle here, lady.
I find this subject so relevant, especially during this season, like when we're talking about fall season and going inward. It starts with the inward journey and knowing that who we really are is a energetic being as a soul, and allowing ourselves to believe that we are complete. And starting from there is step one for self-love.
Ooh, that's a drop mic. I mean, see, woo. Yes, lady. Who wants to add on to? Okay, Barbara.
One of the things for me was only realized like 8 years ago that I have spent my life living my life by someone else's rules. Was it didn't know the authentic me. And now that I have really gotten into that, it is self-care is being your self-love is being your authentic self. What makes you you? And quit beating yourself up for the things that you're not and celebrate all the things that you are, even if it goes against other people's view that you've had all your life. And that's been a hard lesson, and yet such a worthwhile lesson for me. I'm so glad that I've finally come into my own.
Oh, that's good, Barbara. That's good. For me, self-care starts with, it's from the innermost to the outermost. It's where we discover to cultivate the gardens of our own souls. Find out and discover who you are. Love yourself from the innermost to the outermost. Because when you're loving yourself and you're giving yourself self-care, then you're able to then pour out love for others. So for me, self-care is self-discovery, knowing who you are, whose you are, and taking the time to discover who you are, because we're ever evolving, ever changing. As seasons in life change, we change. So we've got to discover who we are in the new seasons that we're in. To me, that's a part of self-love.
I hope we got you muted, Barbara.
I see a lot of people commenting. I love it, love it. Okay, so let's just keep it going here. Let's see. We have to get Elena. Let me bring you in, lady.
Yes. I come from a different space on self-love because I was kind of pushed into having to learn what it meant to actually love myself. And so we can get real and raw here, being part of almost like a toxic relationship. I didn't realize I didn't love myself. And then I hit a wall. My husband passed away. I became a widow, and I was left in this place of, how do I love myself? I didn't realize I didn't love myself. So I think for some people, when you realize like life is just really hard, or you're going through these questions of why me, why do I feel sad? Why do things not work out? That's a moment to actually do some reflection and ask yourself, do you truly love yourself? Because if you did, would you be making the choices that you are? So I think it's easy to talk about the other side of self-love, but for those that really are struggling to understand what it means, ask yourself those questions. Would you tell your best friend that you love? are you making the right choices? Would you really do that? But then when you look in the mirror, are you making the choices that are best for you? And if you know that you're not, it's time to tap into truly and fully loving yourself. And it's a journey, it's a process.
Ooh, that was good, because a lot of time, and it's funny because I was going to ask the other side of the fence on that, because sometimes people have a problem or have challenges loving themselves, and that's, other toxic things come out when you're not doing that, or you don't know how, or you've been hurt, or whatever the case may be in your life, right? So, and there was somebody else that was in the audience that said the same thing. He said, I'm just now learning to really love myself. So, does anybody want to add to what Elena said? Because that's good. I mean, we have a lot of people that say, oh, I love me, but behind closed doors, they might still be struggling.
And that's that part where I was talking about cultivating the gardens of your soul. That's when we go through different seasons of life. Things happen to us. You get traumatized. You are either dealing with abandonment issues. You become a widow. In many cases, people don't know how to love themselves. Self-care is when you fight for your healing. When you fight to say, I want to discover, how can I love myself? Cultivating my soul to discover what true love is, to be able to love. For me, at one point in time, Elena, you're not the only one. I didn't recognize what love was. I didn't know what healthy love was because of my family background. And there was a scripture that I read in Isaiah 43:4. When I heard that God honored me and that he loved me, I was like, whoa, this is healthy love, not toxic love. Mm-hmm. Then you're able to then be able to learn how to love yourself first. So I am in ditto, kudos, 100% understand what you're saying, Elena. Thank you for the transparency and breaking that ice.
Thank you, Kristina.
Yeah, we're breaking that ice. I love it, love it, love it. We got to do that. We got to hit every area here. I want to bring on Queen Shauntee because I know she has some words of wisdom there.
Yeah. So can you hear me? Because I know I'm having some issues on this end.
Yes.
You can hear me? Okay, good. I think first and foremost, in order to get to a place of self-love, it has to be about the healing, right? You have to be able to, admit to yourself that there is some healing that needs to take place, because we go through things, right? We go through things in life, and they kind of make us doubt, how we feel about ourselves. It kind of makes us doubt a lot of things. So I think that healing is first and foremost, and then just having those to say, it's okay for me to have self-love and for me to fall in love with myself. That's what I would add.
Ooh. Okay. I just want to make sure, just let everybody know with Shauntee, I know she has a little delay, so I don't want to step over her words. So that's why we're waiting for a second, just to let everybody know. I want to get into this is good. So I want to get into just going into some practical steps. Now, some of you mentioned some techniques and ways that you can nurture self-love today and every single day, because it's a process. It is a process. I mean, I still struggle sometimes in my own self-love. And it's all about making sure that I said something earlier about, you're more than enough. That you have to understand that you're more than enough, believe in yourself, and trust in you. So does anybody want to add some golden nuggets regarding like some steps or techniques that they do that helps you out? Shilpa?
I believe that each of us have one thing in common that will truly give you the opportunity to set your self-love the moment you wake up in the morning, which is we all have a heart and we all have breath. You put your hand on your heart and recognize the fact that the moment you wake up, you can start loving yourself and taking that first intentional breath. I know we're breathing sometimes unconsciously, but taking that intentional breath and being conscious of it and remembering that that's the last thing that you will perhaps do actively as a human. So recognizing the fact that your breath is with you, and it's connected energy to the universe.
Ooh, powerful, powerful. I see some heads.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. I knew that.
One of the Shilpa, yeah, exactly. And one of the things that I do as soon as I open my eyes, while I'm still lying in bed and I'm relaxing, I take that breath. Then I take it a next step, because the next step for me of self-love is being grateful, gratitude. And I go through my little list. Thank you, Lord, that I have eyes to see, ears to hear, a mouth to speak, arms to hold, a heart to love, and feet to take action. And when I start the day like that, because there are people out there that can't speak or they can't hear, or and it all starts, and it starts with our breath. So when I'm first conscious of my first breath, then I go through my thank you. And that helps me to just get in touch with the heart to love. And because we to love ourselves, but then we can use it to love others.
Yes. I definitely have something to add here to this one, because to love myself, I go back to a specific place in my life where it was a pivotal moment. I could have either sunken low and chosen to just not keep going, but I fought. And when I talked about becoming a widow, 9 months after my husband passed away, so we're talking 9 months goes by, I'm grieving, I'm losing everything. I discovered that he had been having a 5-year affair. So when I talk about self-love, for me, it's very specific. I had to fight to love myself because, like Barbara, how you said, you are enough. I actually had to question, why wasn't I enough? Right. But he was dead. Like, I couldn't ask questions, and I couldn't even look in the mirror. And, when people say, self-affirmations and talk love into yourself and speak to yourself, I couldn't even look in the mirror without like breaking down. I was full of shame, like if it was my fault. So something that worked for me, maybe will work for someone that's listening, is I started taking pictures of myself. I started taking pictures of myself so that I could zoom in and look for the beauty in myself. I would look at my eyes. I would talk to the person in the photo first. I would tell her she was worthy of love. I would tell her she was enough. I would tell her it wasn't her fault. And I began to fall in love with her because it was still too painful. And so I think for everyone, we have to find the specific source of where that hurt is coming from and fight for yourself. Fight to love yourself. And that is really one thing that worked for me, is I took pictures until I could love her enough to then look in the mirror and love the one staring back. And sometimes you have to do whatever's going to work for you. And that really worked for me. So I wanted to make sure to share that for self-love.
Elena, you mentioned the source. You said the word source. For me, self-love is, first of all, I have to reach with what my source of love is. And for me, that's God. So I have to remind myself to be rooted, to be in the present, to be in the moment of what love is. For me, that's being rooted and grounded in love, and God is love. So I, on a regular basis, as part of self-care for me, I draw from where my source of self-care comes from, and self-love comes from, and that source is the love of God. And when I can pull from that source of the love of God, then I remind myself, oh, wait a minute, I'm loved. Oh, wait a minute, I'm honored. And the same as you, Elena, I didn't even think, when people come and attack your self-worth, a part of self-love for me is also just saying, where you said the affirmations, I'm worthy. I'm worthy of love. I am lovable. God loves me. So for me, self-love is pulling from the source. What am I plugged into to even recognize what love is when you've seen unhealthy love, to get a source of love?
I like the idea of source of love, because God, universe, whatever label we each give, I remind myself daily that even if somebody smiles at you when you're walking at a store, Or and like my son giving me a flower. I remember, yes, it's my son, but the source is God. The source is the universe. So then imagine walking through your day and everything becomes a miracle.
Ooh. It is getting very. I need to get some tea. So does anybody else? I want to get into, now that we're talking about the techniques, some of the techniques that you use and something that you reach for when it comes to self-love. I want to add a little bit, spin a little bit into how does your self-love influence your relationships, work-wise, overall well-being, and can you share some personal examples? Because I mean, it's one thing, you got to start with yourself, as I always say. How does that entwine when it comes to relationships? Anybody wants to take that?
Can I go?
Yep.
I used to be an angry person. And what I realized is the root of that anger was fear. Well, Kristina, what you afraid of? Being alone, being abandoned, being used. And so when I realized, okay, wait a minute, I'm inflicting so much anger, it became an outward thing. Okay. So if you're angry within, then that's what you're going to give out. So then when I started to cultivate, let God cultivate the garden of my soul, the areas that I was wounded in my soul, and decided to take my power back, get my love back, get my healing, then in turn, in my relationships with my closest friends, my husband of 24 plus years, I was able then to pour out love. You can't pour out love into your intimate, closest relationships if you don't even have love for yourself on the inside. So I had to deal with that anger issue. And the anger came from hurt. The anger came from a seed that was planted inside of me. And that self-love was, I don't want this no more. Let me get it out. So when you can love yourself, then you're able to pour that love into your closest relationships.
One of the things for me on the same line, Kristina, is when I realized that I had, like, we've all made mistakes. We've all made bad decisions. We have all made, how could I have, what was I thinking? Those kinds of things. And when I realized that I had to forgive myself for all of those bad decisions, all the things that, I could have done better, just did I screw up my children forever, those kinds of things. And I did an exercise where I could celebrate the things that I was proud of myself. We have to be proud of us. So often we only think about the things that we've done wrong, that the things that we don't do well. Well, celebrate the things that you do well. And I do that by looking in the mirror sometimes and going, Barbara, I am so proud of you because you did this. And I don't care if it was just because you just made your bed. It doesn't matter what that thing is. But then the next step for me was I had to forgive myself. And because things would come up and go, ooh. And the sad part was things were coming up from when I was a kid that I had done wrong against, that I disrespected my mother. I did something against my dad. I, painted my sister's doll. Shouldn't have done that. And realized that I had never forgiven myself for those. They really, you think of them as inconsequential things, but there were things that I shouldn't have done. And so I had to forgive myself. And some of those things that came up, I was like, and I am still carrying guilt around about that. But I had been. And once I was able to, and I still, once in a while, things will still come up. Oh, yeah. Barbara, that happened when you were 8 years old. And yet it has come up 2 weeks ago, when I was doing this exercise of looking at myself in the mirror. What Kristina said is that your soul, but your eyes are the window of your soul. So when you can really look at yourself and say, and use your name, Barbara, I forgive you for, and something will come up, and then you have.
Oh, we are hitting some golden nuggets today. Yes, I'm seeing the comments coming in. They're saying so much they can't keep up with writing, ladies.
Can
So-
I chime in on something on the
yes, you
forgiveness
can.
piece? Because I think this ties right into what Barbara was saying. Forgiveness, we are told to practice that, and that's, forgiveness isn't for them, it's for you. And I had an experience where God, my God, I call him my grand overall designer, he let me know forgiveness wasn't enough, that I needed to cover that pain in love. And that kind of changed the perspective as how I look at everything, where you can forgive, but when you can actually pour love over the things that once caused you pain, including yourself, it transitions everything. And so I had to go back, like she was saying, back to experiences, memories, things, anything that caused me pain at some point in my life that surfaced in my brain. Instead of simply forgiving, God said, cover them in love, cover that experience in love, because ultimately we are all trying to do our best, and we're going to hurt each other from time to time. And so that purpose alone has allowed me to view relationships, whether in work, with my children, in business. You can quickly forgive, but then you add that extra layer and simply cover in love. And that has been a life-changing moment for me when my God said forgiveness isn't enough. Cover those that have hurt you in love, including yourself. And that was huge.
That's powerful what you just said, Elena. And that's why I said on a daily basis, every day. We were talking about, Barbara asked, what do you do for self-love? Every day for me, it's getting rooted in that source of love, which is God. Because guess what, ladies? Every day in life, we're going to be offended. Things are going to come up to try to chip us, trip us, to get offended. That's going to try to push those buttons, hit those trigger points, and even the trigger points of things that we know we've been healed from. Trigger us from things that we know we forgave that person from a long, 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 long time ago. But when we stay plugged into that source of love, and the word tells us that love covers a multitude of sins. When you can love, you're able to release and forgive. Because think about it. We forgive people a lot of times, and they can't even forgive themselves, or they're not even receiving the forgiveness from you. And then the attack wants to come back to steal your love again, but you got to fight it with that source, covering it with love. That's awesome, Elena.
Thank you.
And Elena, what you said reminds me of the more scientific aspect of all of the energetic knowledge that I have, which is, yes, maybe this is more quantum physics, but at the end, your actions, those things that you're doing, covering it with love, what you're doing is increasing your vibration. And in essence, you're doing is you're allowing yourself to be in a place that is vibrating with love.
I'm just gonna how they do the double dutch a long time when we were younger. So I'm just gonna double dutch in here real quick. So we have the Queen Shanta back. Did you want to add anything, Shanta, before we go into our self-care? Let's see. I'm trying to help here.
Okay, there we go. It was letting me unmute it. I just, forgive other people, but I didn't start seeing real results until I forgave myself. It was so important for me to do that. And I think that once I was able to forgive myself, that helped me tremendously to propel forward into that self-love. Because a lot of times we are so busy, saying, oh, I got to forgive this person, so I can heal, so that I can, get it off me or whatever it is. But a lot of times there are things that we have to forgive ourselves for too. And I think that it's important to remember that it's okay to forgive yourself as well as forgive others. So, yeah.
Thank you, Queen. Love it, love it, love it. Well, before we go into our next section, if you're just chiming in, welcome to Let's Talk Fabulous with a special panel, this wonderful panel of queens, because they're all ladies. I call them queens. And myself, I'm the guest host, Barbara J. Beckley. You're here in the right place if you're listening about self care and self love, because it's much needed in the world. And I think Coach Chuck came on and he was like, what the world needs now is love, sweet love. It's the only thing. That's just too little love. I love that song. I love it. I'm not going to sing it. I know Tommy Tamra, the Queen Bee's out there asking me to sing. I'm not going to do that. Not today. We're going to keep it moving. So we do have a video just to remind people, as all these queens were talking about regarding self-love before we go into self-care. So we just want to kind of take a minute to breathe and take some more self-love in. Oh, okay. I just that last part, I was just loving. I wanted to spin around. This felt so good just to see her do that. As you said at the end of that video, all forms, all types. You see, all of us are different in each other's ways, and that's love right there. Just getting to know each other and getting to just be in each other's lives. So, I really want to stress that. And speaking about multicultures and everything, we have something to celebrate today. So I want everybody to get your socks on. Start doing that, because we are going to do a little dance here. We'll be right back. Oh, okay.
You got me on that one there.
I know. See, lady, I know. I was like doing that little salsa. Okay, now that I got that out of my system, now we're going back to our second half of our show. We're going to talk about self-care. And as you all know, as the queens were talking, it was really difficult. I heard it. They were self-care, self-love, self-care. You know why? Because it goes hand in hand. So it was nothing wrong saying that. It goes hand in hand. And I wanted to touch self-love first, because I always tell people it all has to start within you, right? We said that. All of us kind of hit that. Forgiveness, all that kind of stuff. And then you can get to the self-care. Because if you don't self-love yourself, self-care is just out the door, right? You're not even going to think about it. So let's kind of chime into that. So question, what are practical everyday self-care habits for improving well-being? So give me some of your habits, some things that you do. Oh, Barbara has her hand up. I'm going to bring her in the middle here.
One of the biggest, I work at home, work mostly on Zoom, and which I love doing, but I literally set a timer to make sure that I stand up, and I stretch, but then I dance. Because it makes me feel good.
All right.
And I'll do like the twist, or I'll put on Shut Up and Dance With Me. I love that song. And I'll put that on, or put on Blondie. Put on something that stirs your soul, that you can't help but start moving to it. But I literally set a timer in order to do that. So, yeah, just reminds me.
Okay, you started trend with the dancing and the singing and everything, especially when it's bringing up Blondie and all that. I'm like, okay, you're going back to the 80s. I was like, where are we going? Where are we going? 70s, really? So with that, anybody else with self-care, any practical tips or things that you do?
I feel for myself personally, it's there's like this orchestra, this symphony of things that I do. that help me. And at any one point, when I really listen to my body, I try to tap into that source that will help me. So let's say right now I have a sore throat, having some warm tea and grounding my body, going and walking in the backyard and getting that energy from the earth. That's one of many things. And I keep it fluid. I keep moving and trying new things each day. The other day I woke up and, my back was a little bit tight because of all the coughing I've been doing. So I decided to do some tapping and get that energy moving. So there's so many things available. The tapping, just tapping up and down, starting from the left hand, really gets all of the lymphatic fluids flowing.
I'm glad before I know the other people I see heads, I want people to come in too. But I love what you said that, Queen, because I started doing that. I was on another Zoom the other day and they were talking about just tapping a little bit, even with your face. They were talking about do that and it automatically makes you feel more comfortable. Yeah, on your head and everything. I said, oh, wow, I didn't even notice that. See, you live and learn, right?
One of mine is really, really simple. I use lipstick. It's why I created a lipstick company, but I use color theory behind lipstick. And so every day it's like, what's the vibe? What's the energy? What am I doing? What colors am I going to wear? And I get really playful with it. And for me, it just makes me feel put together. It makes me show up as my best self. And so that's my self-care every single day. I get like so excited on what lipsticks am I going to put together and come out here and show my smile. That's something simple that works for me every day.
And a beautiful smile you have. Miss Kristina, I see it. I see her wheels in her. Yeah.
They're going. For me, self-care and self-love, they are associated, they work together. Self-care, self-love, mental health, increased self-esteem, and the ability to handle life's challenges more effectively. And what I've learned in 49 years is, for me, self-care is knowing how to say no. The ability to say no and not feeling guilty about it. Making my no's be no's and my yes be yes, not being double minded, backtracking on a no. Because what happens is when you're saying yes instead of the no's, you end up being stressed out. You end up being in commitments that you're overcommitted, you're overextended, you're unable to prioritize your own needs. So I've learned that saying no is a valuable part of self-care that correlates into self-love.
Yes. No is a complete sentence. And she has taught me that. She's also my pastor, so she has taught me that. So anybody else wants to add to any techniques, anything that's, with self-care, with your well-being, because it is important.
Meditation is also.
I agree with her completely. Because if you are saying yes, 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 that means that you are saying no to something else. And you should, you need to prioritize. You need to understand your yes and your no. So I definitely agree with her on that. And also just paying attention to things that deplete you. What gives you energy and what depletes your energy. I think that that's a big thing too. Because when you are able to pay attention to the things that gives you energy, then you can add more of that into your life. And if you notice the things that deplete your energy, then you're able to start to remove those things from your life. So I think that they both go hand in hand, the yes and no, and depleting and giving energy.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Anybody else wants to add? I mean, I'm going to throw out their boundaries. That's a good self-care. That really is. I've been working on that.
Yeah. Sometimes this yes and no is not even with other people. It's the yes and no and decisions we make within our soul, with ourselves. I know for myself, this is a simple example, but yesterday my son really wanted me to take him to the park and go take him kite flying. And I was adamant, I'm going to clean the house and then I'm going to go swimming. And then I thought, well, what's my why? what is my priority for my heart? And I realized at that moment, it's really important that I spend quality time with him. I know he's getting big, he's getting older, and it's the weekend. I can go swimming during the weekday, but taking care of my relationship at that moment. So that became my why. And I suddenly became aligned. I said, you know what? I'm going to go with you. I can take care of these other things later. So I had to say no to something else, but it was because I was saying yes to my why.
That's good. That's good. Anybody else want to add to that?
One of the things for me, we all get, I call it monkey brain, where you just have so much going on in your brain that you just can't even think. I had one of those mornings yesterday morning, and I finally just said, I had so much to do, I didn't know what to do. One of those days where I was just, oh, brother, Barbara. And it was like, Barbara, you don't have to decide what to do right now, but do something. Well, but how can you not decide to do something, but then decide to do something? That's when for myself, it's like, okay, Barbara, let's do something simple that I don't have to think about it. So I went outside and took my dog for a walk. It doesn't, because we get so caught up in all the big things that we need to do. Taking time for you in self-care is just doing that, doing something simple that you don't have to think about it. And by the time I got back from my walk, it was like, oh, Barbara, why were you so confused? You do this and this. And but I had to take that time to step back, do something that I didn't have to think about it. My dog doesn't care where I take her for a walk as long as I take her. So do something like that you don't have to think about, that you just do.
And Barbara, going back to the monkey brain, we do get into this looping thoughts, all of us as humans. I mean, we're neurologically trained to have thoughts, but when you put a break in it, like going for that walk, what you did is you cut that energy, and you re-triggered that energy, and then you had clarity.
One of the things that helps me is I do brain dump. Okay, I brain dump every day. When I started brain dumping a couple years ago, I'd have to brain dump at night and in the morning because there was just like so much. And so when you brain dump, you're just writing down like everything that you think you have to do, from work to family to groceries to laundry, like everything. But then you go back and you're like, what is actually urgent? Like what actually has a negative consequence if it doesn't get done today? And chances are there's probably like no more than 3 things that something bad will happen if it doesn't get done. They're going to shut your lights off, but are they really going to come and take your kids away? Like if you don't get the laundry done today. And so when you can really start giving yourself permission to all of the things that you feel you have to get done, does it really have to today? Will something bad happen if it doesn't? And when you realize there's very few things that must be done, now you've got time to do those things for yourself, even if it's just to sit back and do nothing, to read, to just be present. It gives yourself permission. And my brain, I need that structure for my brain to work for me well. And that's what I have found that works for me.
And along with that too, Elena, that is absolutely so true. And when you can say, I get to do this, not I have to do this. When you have a list of all the things you have to do, that is your analytical, your stress brain that's talking about. And then when you can hone in on, well, gee, do I really have to do that? Then it's like, oh, I get to do that. And it's just such a different mind shift, and it's just such a different vibration, as Shilpa said. It's a different vibration that I get to do that. Rather than I have to. Is the earth going to end if I don't make my bed right now? Because it's usually all those little things that get us.
Yes, looking at it as opportunity instead of obligation.
another part of self-care for me also, I had said where when I realized and discovered that God honored me and that he loves me. So in turn for self-care for me is how am I honoring myself and not feeling bad about it? Honoring myself, honoring my space, honoring my own needs, setting healthy boundaries, prioritizing activities, behaviors, honoring who I allow in my inner circle, self-care, honoring myself, and realizing that it's okay. How do I expect for others to honor me if I'm not honoring myself and taking care of myself? So that word honor for me is huge in self-care. How am I honoring myself? How am I investing back in myself and not feeling guilty about it?
So with that, I'm not going to feel guilty playing a little clip on some more self-care tips that we can think about. We'll be right back. Well, out of that, I did get some fruit, so if everybody can see, I have my little fruit thing. So I took a little tip from there. So with that said, everybody, any other tips? Now we haven't heard from Shanta. I want to make sure we get you in here, lady.
Okay. Yeah, I've been limiting myself with my my technical issues I'm having over here. I just want to say too, I know that a lot of people focus on external, getting your nails done, getting your mani, your pedi, your hair, going shopping, going on vacation. All of that is good externally. Just make sure while you're doing the self-care externally that you find a way to work on self-care internally too, because it's just as important to feel good on the inside as it is to look good on the outside. So I just wanted to add that because those things are a form of self-care, but try to focus a little more on the internal and not just the external part of it.
Mm-hmm. And just to piggyback off of what you just said, my day starts off every morning with meditation and every evening. That's me time. That's me talking to my soul, creating a heightened level of awareness. And it's not easy. In fact, a lot of people often say the monkey mind and how challenging it is. But when you look at it both scientifically and spiritually, you realize you're truly honoring yourself from the inside out.
Mm-hmm.
So now we're going to play a game. Yes, I always have something up my sleeves. So the game is 30 seconds last minute thoughts. So with that, you have 30 seconds to give some lasting thoughts. It can be on self-care, self-love, put it all together because like I said, it goes and flows. But what last thought that you want to leave the audience, because there's a lot of people taking notes and we want to make sure we leave them some other wonderful nuggets, all other nuggets that you left. So any other nuggets you have. So I'm going to start with Barbara.
I think one of the things that I have learned just recently is being more open to the opportunities that God has for me, to take a moment back to sit and listen. What is the universe, God, what is he telling me to do? What small action do I get, and do I choose to do today and get to do today? And it's changing those words, and that has been so powerful for me to take inspired action.
It's Kristina.
Self-care, self-love. Remember you are honored. Remember you are loved. Remember it's okay to plant the seeds of love in oneself, to harvest the seeds of love in yourself, and to grow beyond them and share the love with others.
Mine comes from a point where my GOD told me years ago when things were crumbling apart in my life, and or actually falling into place. But he said, stop wasting precious time asking questions you know you will never receive answers to.
Mm-hmm.
Now, we all have those. And so to get through that, I started writing letters to my GOD just so that I could get them out. And if he gave me an answer back, fine. If he didn't, at least it was done. But that's what he says. Stop wasting precious time asking questions you know you will never receive answers to. That's my tip.
Ooh, ooh, ooh. Can't you see me? Shanta, can you hear me? I think she froze again. No. Oh, there she goes.
I guess I just want to leave it with, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Off mute. Can you hear me?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, perfect. Just remember, self-love and self-care is emotional, it's mental, it's physical, and it's spiritual. Make sure you're connecting all the dots on all levels. If you're feeling spiritually disconnected, do what you need to do to get connected there. If you're having mental fog, do what you need to do. If you're feeling emotionally disconnected, whatever it is that resonates with you that you feel you need to do, trust your body when those things are coming up for you, because they're all connected and they all make a difference when they're like a well-oiled machine. So yeah, I'm gonna leave it with that.
Okay, Shilpa, 30 seconds, lady, go.
Absolutely. Well, it was a great segue. Self-care, self-love all really ties to the fact that I believe, and I think all of us believe, we are energetic souls. We are light. And we're connected to a higher source. And I sincerely believe that if you start your day with an intention, that energy will carry through every action you take. So with that, I say, the Sanskrit word for it is sankalpa. So if you want to meditate on that and learn that you are going to really set your life on fire, but just hone in on your intention and your why.
Thank you, ladies. Real quickly, I appreciate each and every one of you. See us next week for a next wonderful topic. Remember, self-love, self-care, very vital in your life. See you next week.
I want to say thank you for joining us today and welcome you back next Sunday as we once again are joined by a panel of subject matter experts that will explore and focus in on our fabulous lives. Until next Sunday.